This man is a gentleman. In fact, he is the reason behind this very summit. He is my international manager. I mean, my manager for international affairs. He is the coordinator for all what you are seeing. He is the coordinator for all the speakers. In fact, he has been very vociferous when it comes to this very summit. And he has always been vociferous when it comes to organizing programs with the Youth Leadership Foundation. This man is called Mr. Prince Jamna. He is a Ghanaian and is currently doing his master's in epidemiology at the University of Bristol, United Kingdom, on a think-big scholarship. He had his first degree in medical laboratory technology from the University of Cape Coast. He was the deputy unit leader at the virology and molecular lab at the Eastern Regional Hospital, Koforidua. He did his national service at the Anoche Teaching Hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open for Mr. Jamna Prince. Hello, Mr. Jamna.
Yeah, hello, Major, I'm here.
Yes, boss. Please, you are welcome to Greatness Webinar.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and the nice introduction. I'm really honored to be invited to this platform.
Sure, this is the program you coordinated and how far it has come.
Yeah, we bless God for this opportunity. You know, in Youth Leadership Foundation, our aim is to touch lives and then to make impact every day. And then we want to see a better future for the youth, especially the Ghanaian youth. So I think it's in the right direction. And I'm happy to see so many youth who are ready and poised to see their lives become better. Yeah, so I want to go straight to the point and to the reason why we are here without beating about the bush. From yesterday and even tonight, we've had quite a number of information concerning scholarships abroad. And I want to highlight some few common mistakes that a lot of people make when making scholarship applications. Myself, I'm a victim of that. That's why I want to share with that. I don't want people to repeat the mistakes I made when I was making scholarship applications. If I had avoided those mistakes, perhaps I could have left Ghana earlier. But all the same, God's timing is the best. So the first mistake that a lot of people do make, I'm sure most of the speakers have already spoken about them, but I want to highlight them again. People always apply to very few scholarships. That is a very, very big mistake, applying to few scholarships. We have to know that there are a lot of competitions when it comes to international scholarships. Even in Ghana, a lot of people are seeking for scholarships to study abroad. Nigerians, a lot of Arabs, the Indians, Pakistanis, a lot of people. So if you apply to just one or two scholarships, then meaning your risk of being rejected is very high. Although you might have the required qualifications, you might have you might meet all the requirements, you might have a very good transcript and all that, but you might be rejected because the competition is very high. So in order for you to increase your chances of getting a scholarship, please apply to as many scholarships as possible. Most of the scholarships, the applications are free. So especially when it comes to the United Kingdom, why don't you apply to as many as possible? And then a lot of people do not do enough research about the scholarship and its requirements. So it is a very big mistake too. For you to apply to a particular scholarship, make sure you know the requirements for the scholarship, the kind of requirement they need when it comes to your grade point average, your CGP or your CWA. You have to know those requirements, read a lot about the scholarship before you make your applications. People also do not submit a very good application, or I would say a strong application. Applications they submit are full of grammatical errors, and then they do answer the questions appropriately, and then they are weak references. Now, there are a lot of tools you can use to help your grammatical constructions. You can use Grammarly. Grammarly is an app that you can use to help you construct very good grammatical constructions. It will check for punctuation errors, check for your tenses, check for whatever issues with grammar. Grammarly can do that. You can also use Quillbot. Quillbot can also do that same function for you. And then Quillbot can also be used to paraphrase your statements to make them look nicer and better. And one thing Mr. Bani also mentioned about references. When it comes to references, they are very, very important when we are looking for scholarships. And then don't leave your reference for just anybody, but let somebody you have that kind of relationship with work on your reference for you. So get a lecturer you are so much close to, let them give you a very good reference, because sometimes you can submit an application, but then the school does not receive your reference from your supervisor. When they don't receive the reference, they can reject your application, or when the reference is weak, it's not strong enough, they can also reject your application. And one more thing, some people also give up too early. They try one or two scholarships, it doesn't work, and then that's it, they give up. No, you have to be persistent. You have to be persistent, and then you have to be consistent and then determined. Because the more you try, the more your chances of getting a scholarship. So if you try one and two and doesn't work, please don't give up. Try again, because maybe it might be so close. If you had tried again, that will be your breakthrough. So now I'm going to share with you some very useful links that will help you in your initial scholarship applications. Somebody want to travel abroad for studies, but they don't even know how to go about it. Where should I start from? There are various platforms or various links that you can use to help you. Honestly, you don't really need anybody to do your scholarship application for you. All you need is to log on to these platforms, look for the appropriate scholarships you're looking for, and then you just apply. So one of the links I'm going to talk about is Scholarship Positions. It's one of the resources I use a lot. Scholarship Positions, you can write it down. So with Scholarship Positions, once you subscribe to it, you get alerts whenever there's a scholarship opportunity. You get alerts, and then if it meets your desired program, then you can then continue to apply to it. Another place, another avenue, another link you can also find scholarship is findamasters.com. Findamasters.com. Or if you are considering PhD, you look for findaphd.com. It's another wonderful platform where you can find a lot of scholarship opportunities. And then there's one called scholarships.com. Scholarships.com. You can also find a lot of scholarship links there. And then we have bold.org, fastweb.com, unigo.com. And then you can also look for individual scholarships from various universities. When it comes to the United Kingdom, various schools also have their scholarships. So like the University of Bristol, they have the thing-based scholarship. If you go to University of Cambridge, they have the Gates Cambridge scholarship. If you go to Oxford, they have a various a number of scholarships. If you go to University of like a lot of them, if you go to the various universities, they have their own scholarships. And then in a moment, I'm also going to talk about alternative ways to study abroad, even if you don't get a scholarship. Sometimes you can do whatever you need to do. You've done everything right. Yes, so you have all the requirements, you meet every requirement, but then finding a scholarship can still be very, very, very difficult, because like I mentioned earlier, there can be a huge amount of competition. So how can I study abroad even if I don't get a scholarship? Is that possible in the first place? Because a lot of people think that studying abroad can be very, very expensive. Yes, it can be expensive if you don't do your research very well, but if you have the necessary information, you know that it's still possible. So I'm going to share with you some strategies that will help you to be able to study abroad even if you don't have a scholarship. And then one of the best strategies to do or to use is to apply to, I think some people are having sound issues. Technical team, if you be able to sort that for me. I don't know if anybody can hear me. Can you all hear me, please?
is loud and clear.
All right.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the strategy is that there are a number of countries in Europe. I'm in Europe, so I'm speaking from the Europe perspective. There are a number of countries in Europe where education is free. Yeah, that's the good news. A lot of people do not know this. I didn't know this until I came to the UK. Education is free in a number of countries in the in Europe for even international applicants. And one of the countries I'm going to talk about is Germany. I know somebody's surprised. Education in Germany is free. That's the good news. Education in Germany is free, and it doesn't matter your level of education. Even if you did HND, if you want to do your first degree, master's, PhD, you can do your studies in Germany for free. The caveat is that some of the German universities will require you to study in the German language. However, there are a number of courses that can be studied in English language in Germany. I have a number of friends and even relatives who are in Germany doing their studies, so I know what I'm talking about. We don't know some of this information because we don't read and we don't search for information. So education in Germany is basically free. All you need is to get a blocked account. The blocked account is the country require you to have an amount of money in your account because they wouldn't want you to be depending on their government or their system. So you have your money in the account, and then every month they will release the money to you. So that is the only requirement. And then you might not even be required to write IELTS and those kind of English proficiency letters. Most of the universities do not even ask for those ones. So you can search for education in Germany. Norway is one country where education is also free. Norway is another country. We have Sweden, we have Finland, we have Iceland. Education in these countries are basically free. Sorry. A minute, please. And then, secondly, there are also a number of countries in Europe where education is very, very, very cheap. When I say cheap, I mean it's cheap. Education in Austria, I know you know of Austria. Education in Austria is very cheap. Austria will require you to pay some fees, but then it's very cheap. In the sense that you might be paying around 350 to 750 euros per semester. Yeah, 350 to 750 euros per semester. It's very cheap as compared to education in UK and other countries. You can check on this link www.studyinaustria.at www.studyinaustria.at. You can get some useful information about studying in Austria. And then you can also check in studying in Czech Republic. Czech Republic is a very wonderful place where you can also have your studies, and then it's also very cheap to study in Czech Republic because you might pay around 1,500 to 2,500 euros. So studying in Czech Republic is also very, very cheap. And then another place you might want to consider is Italy. Italy requires like even if you want to do if you have a background in HND, or even if you want to do like whichever level of education you want to do, yeah, you can do it in Italy, and it's also very cheap. And then another country you might want to look at is Estonia. Estonia is a very nice country for those especially those in the tech industry, those with IT background, computer science background. If you want to consider studying abroad, you might want to consider Estonia because it's a very nice place, and then education there is also very cheap. You might want to consider Poland, Malta, Belgium, and France. The caveat is that you will be taught in French. So if you have a background in French, you might want to consider making your studies in France. The good thing about studying in Europe is that if you enter into Europe, if you get to one country in Europe, you have the opportunity to travel to as many countries as possible within the European Union. So if you get a scholarship, or if you travel to like Italy to have your studies, you can travel to about 24 different countries in Europe. So it's very very like I think it's an easy way for you to get to to get to Europe, and then you'll be able to live your life, the kind of life you want to live. I'm also going to talk about how to get to the United Kingdom if UK is your sole or your only country that you want to come to. I'm in the United Kingdom, so I know the system quite well. If you want to apply to come to the United Kingdom, and then if you don't get a scholarship, it's still possible. When I got to the United Kingdom, I got to know that there are a number of Ghanaians here who are studying without scholarships, and number of Nigerians. Most of the Nigerians here do not have scholarships, but they are able to fund their studies. And what's the strategy? The strategy is to apply to the lower ranked universities in the United Kingdom because their tuition fees are lower. If you apply to the Russell Group universities, when I talk about the Russell Group universities, I'm talking about the highly ranked universities, like the top ranked universities, like the University of Oxford, Cambridge, University of Bristol, where I am. For those ones, the fees are extremely expensive. Yes, the University of Bristol, where I am, the fees is around £27,000. So you can imagine if you don't get any scholarship, you won't be able to pay it. But then if you apply to the lower ranked universities, the fees are quite cheaper. And what's the strategy? Even if you get here, the strategy is that most of these schools you'll be able to pay your fees in installments. They don't take the money in bulk. You don't pay at one point. You can pay the fees in installments, about 3 or more installments, depending on your preference and how you arrange with the school. So based on your preference, you can have about 3 installments, and then you pay your fees according to that installment plan or package. And then the good thing is that when you get to the UK as a student, you have the opportunity to work for about 20 hours per week during third time. So when I talk about third time, during like school hours or during school time, you can work about 20 hours per week, and then during vacations you can work full time. Now my school is on vacation, so I'm able to work full time. So you can imagine. So and then one good thing about studying in UK is that you have the opportunity to bring your family together with you if you are coming to do postgraduate studies. So the trick is that what the Nigerians do is that when they apply for the school and then they get the admission, they bring their wives, or if the person is a female, they bring their husbands, and then the other partner will be working. The partner who comes is able to work full time. There's no restriction on them. So they bring their partners with them, and then their partners will work full time to support them in the payment of their fees. That's what they do. If you have a child or if you have children, you can bring your children. So what the Nigerians do is that even if they are not married, they go to the court, do a court marriage. If you have a girlfriend or like somebody who you can trust, they go to the court and then do some court marriages, and then they travel together to the United Kingdom with them, and then the person helps them pay their fees, and that's it. After school, you have the opportunity to get a postgraduate visa. That's the reason why a lot of people want to travel to the UK, because after school you have the postgraduate visa where you can work for about 2 years, and then within that 2 years you get the opportunity to find a permanent job, and then when you find a permanent job you can remain here in the UK. The truth is that a lot of the Ghanaian youths, we want the opportunity to study in the UK and the other countries, not because we just want to study for sake, but because we're also looking for greener pastures. We're looking for better opportunities for advancement. We all want like better lives for ourselves and then for the generation after us. So these are some of the ways that people are using to get to the United Kingdom. And then once you get here, I tell you, there are a lot of opportunities here. A lot of opportunities. So that's it, especially for those in the health background and then those in the IT backgrounds, like a lot of opportunities for you. So like I mentioned earlier, as a youth, like I always tell my friends, and if you really want to make a better life for yourself, a better life for those behind you, this is the right time for you to take the initiatives, because the longer it takes, the more difficult it becomes for you to able to travel, and then the more expensive it becomes. Because as at the time I was making my preparations to travel, the amount of money I spent, if we are to travel now, we are going to spend like more than twice the money I spent because of exchange rates. The exchange rate continues to rise. So if you want to travel, you have to be passionate and be determined. You have to be persistent, and then you, as soon as possible, you get it done. And I also want to emphasize that to travel abroad, the education route is the easiest route, especially when it comes to UK. Once you want to come to school, it's the easiest route for you to get to the United Kingdom. Yeah, that's the truth. If you want to come for any other reason, it's very difficult. But to come to school, it's very easy. And then the good thing is that most UK universities, their application fees are free. You don't need to pay any money for application fee. And then most of them, you don't even need to write any international English language test like the TOEFL, the SAT, the IELTS. You have to get a letter, English proficiency letter from your previous university. That proves that you had all your education in Ghana taught in English language, and that's it. That's enough. So that is one good thing about UK education. You don't have to write any English language test. And then some of the universities, within 3 weeks or 1 month after application, you get your response. Yeah. And then most of the universities too, their applications are all year round. You don't need to apply at a particular point, or no, you can apply at any time, any point. So every year, every time, every month, the applications are ongoing. So you don't need to wait for a particular period to apply for the school. So I think I want to pause here and then take some few questions, and then we know where to proceed from here. Thank you so much.